Welcome to Winners, Wallets, and Worldviews, the only show that's going to teach you
how to be somebody.
Where in your life did you learn that you're not good enough?
Take what you're most passionate about and what you're most fearful of, and what is the plan to overcome that fear, and what is the plan to enact that passion.
Good morning. What's going on, everybody? How are we doing today? I've got my celery juice right here. For those of you that have not jumped on this bandwagon, the celery juice bandwagon, I'm telling you, you got to jump on the celery juice bandwagon. It's a little tough to start. It's pretty thick. Has like kind of a tart flavor. Tastes like dirt, but for the most part, tastes like celery. So the idea is celery has a ton of trace minerals that come out of the earth, and it gives you a bunch of energy. So I've replaced my coffee buffet. If you guys remember, I used to do that. I used to be affiliated with a coffee company called Four Sigmatic. However, now I drink almost exclusively celery, and I'm waiting until I find like a celery affiliate that'll let me promote celery or something like that, because Marissa has got me on this. This actually is one of the protocols by Anthony Williams, who's the medical medium. Interesting story, interesting guy. So I encourage you guys to check him out if you ever have the chance. So what I wanted to do today is, first of all, let me just get a drink of the celery here. I want to wait until a couple people jump on here, but I got a few different questions this week, and I wanted to just do a quick Q&A with everybody. And I wanted to answer some of those questions that I got. So if you guys don't know, I did post a video that was called How to Launch a Podcast, and I received a lot of questions. So I ended up responding to the question with how to start a podcast, because it seemed to be like a ton of people were asking me about that. And it's about 30 minutes. I do it in a bathrobe with glasses on. It's pretty funny. The glasses, the same ones that don't have any magnifying effect. They are the glasses that simply block blue light from you, which I'm not wearing today because I can't ruin my dashing good looks with the glasses right now. So what's going on? We're doing a Q&A today, guys. So if you ever have any questions, please pop in. I got a whole list of them right here that I'm going to be addressing here shortly. So welcome. Wave. You can feel free to pop on, ask your question. I'll scroll through it and we'll take a look and see how we can go. So I'll kick this off. Like I said, I was just talking about how a lot of people were asking me how to start a podcast. And it's really quite straightforward. If I could summarize the whole thing, here's what you guys got to do. Pick a subject, category within iTunes. And number 2, go get yourself a Libsyn account, libsyn.com. And it's the back engine to blast it all to a whole bunch of different. What's going on, guys? How are you today? See a lot of awesome people jumping on, so I'm pretty excited. So anyway, that's kind of how you can get going with a podcast really quickly without going into that one too deeply. So first question I had, and this is my email. So once again, if you guys ever have emails, I do respond to these. And you can always send me an email, info@aaronjarmstrong.com. What's going on? Good morning. Good morning. If you guys have questions, pop in and share. My name is Aaron Armstrong. I'm the host of Winners, Wallets, and Worldviews, which is a podcast. Okay, so we had a question pop up here on how to start the podcast. Like I said, libsyn.com, Libsyn. It's the back engine that'll pump your podcast out to a whole bunch of different things. This is a microphone, if you can see it. This is called the Yeti microphone. It's about $100, $200, somewhere in there. You can get a cheaper one. It's pretty good quality. It doesn't hook up to your phone. So Instagram, unfortunately, you guys get the regular iPhone audio, but it hooks up to your computer as a USB port. I'd suggest buying that. And then make sure you guys pick a subject. And here's something that always comes up. So a guy said, he came up to me, he owns a business, it's in the trade business. And he was talking about how he wanted to start a podcast. He's like, I just got so much good content, man. I've got so much good content. That's what he was saying to me. And I said, okay, cool. Like, so you want to start a podcast. And then first thing I said are, what are your strengths? What are your strengths? And he started listing all these different things about how, attention to detail, and he just loves to, interact with his clients, but he likes to capture vision and be artistic and all this different stuff. And I said, dude, that's awesome. What does that have to do with a podcast? And he's like, yeah, that's a good point. I said, exactly, man. Because here's the thing. It took me so much internal work. Good morning, guys. If you're jumping on today, leave a comment with a question if you want me to jump into it. But it took me so much internal work to figure out that I was a good communicator. And obviously, these podcasts can constantly get better and better. And public speaking gets better and better. But morning, guys. Hey, what's going on? I love this wave. It's just so much more connecting, you know. And it took me so long to find out that that was actually a gift of mine, that that was actually a strength, was coming out and being able to speak and communicate, take complex thoughts and ideas and bring them into actionable plans. And that's one of my superpowers. That's why I started a podcast, was because I could do that. I could talk very freely without using notes and conceptualize things articulately. So the first thing you want to ask yourself, what is your superpower? Like, you should be in the top 1% of the 1% at something before you decide to go all in with it. So if you say you want to start a podcast, you better be a damn good communicator. You better have a damn good subject that you got to talk about. So, figure that out before you guys jump into it. So good morning, everybody. Like I said, we're doing a Q&A this morning. So if you have any questions, feel free to jump on, leave a comment with your question. We'll go through it, and I will answer it as honestly and to the best of my ability as possible. So I was just giving a brief introduction of myself. My name's Aaron Armstrong. I am I run the podcast Winners Waltz Worldviews. I also run the company Armstrong Ventures. People tend to ask a lot about my background. So my background is I was a high school football player. I was always kind of the jock, I guess you could say. A lot of people come from these rough backgrounds or something like that, right? They come from a rags to riches story. And my family was very middle class. And by the time I was later in high school, they were upper middle class. So they did very well. And that's where I found a lot of the early struggles on where you need to go with your life. So it's very easy when I think some people come from a more of a poor background. They know what they don't want. They know that this is not how I want to live. When you come from some type of upper middle class background, there's a system there for you that's pretty damn comfortable. And it's like, in the system, it sounds something like this. Maybe some of you guys have followed into this. It's called go to college. It's called get a degree, probably in something that's a professional field, right? Like a nurse or a doctor, or a lawyer, or an engineer, right? Those are some of the things people will usually say to go do. And then if you don't do one of those, you're probably falling into the lower middle class strategy. But then you get out, you get the job, get the highest paying thing you can do, and just focus on that job until you're about 55 or so, and you can retire a millionaire. And that's the strategy. And that is not a bad strategy if that's your standard. If your standard is to be 55 years old and a millionaire and be able to retire at that point, that's a wonderful strategy. And don't stray from that. If your strategy is you want to be able to contribute to the maximum amount of people, you want to connect into what God's vision is for you, and you want to be able to build wealth and build your health and your happiness and your meaning in your life and contribute in the greatest way possible, then you may need to relook your strategy and consider a different strategy. So that's what I started to do. So when I was at West Point, I got a football scholarship to go to West Point. For those of you guys don't know, it's a very challenging military school. Forbes magazine ranked it in 2009 when I was at the time #1 school in the country, better than Harvard, Yale, Stanford, all those names that you guys are very familiar with. I had the chance to go into the academy and really challenge myself as a leader, as a leadership institution. This is what I went to learn. And it was a very difficult, challenging experience. And when I was there, you learn from military officers, right? So military officers are upper middle class as well. So they give you strategies on how to be successful in life from an upper middle class standpoint. But they're also people that are very young and accomplished a lot of strategy in leadership at a very young age. A lot of these people took company command in infantry units and the Ranger Regiment, special forces. They're military leaders. So you're just immersed with incredible leadership. We would have, lunch hour briefs where we would go. People tend to pay thousands of dollars for seminars from these people, and they would come and speak to us for free, and we would actually be trying to get out of them. So that's a little bit about West Point. I graduated with a degree in systems engineering, served in the Army. I was discharged medically due to a knee injury. So I had osteoarthritis in my left knee. It's a bone disease, and it happened because I was aggravating it oftentimes in football, and I lost most of my cartilage. That disqualified me from the military. I was honorably discharged. I took a high-paying job as a systems engineering manager, and from there, I was able to use my main job to fund a lot of incredible side hustles, one of them being Armstrong Ventures, one of them being in the real estate business, one of them being one of Marissa's businesses with Marissa's Fit Boutique. Good morning. And we were able to turn our side hustles into very big streams of income in our normal lives. And people were curious on our story and how we were able to achieve so much at such a young age. And then we started sharing it on these platforms. And that's a little bit about my background. But I wanted to get into what your questions are. So excuse me, guys. Sorry, I forgot to turn my phone on airplane mode. So feel free to pop on, guys, and ask a question if you're listening. Because I'm always curious what you guys are thinking or what's coming up. And that's one of the questions a lot of people always ask is just what's my background? So I just wanted to give that to you from me. If you have any very specific questions on my history or my background, let me know. And I'd be more than happy to share them with you. So morning, Jerry. How you doing, man? Ask a question if you want. We're doing a Q&A today. But here's one that's going on. I alluded to this last week on our show, and that is we're selling our house. So we are selling this beautiful lake house. If you guys remember from a couple months ago on Instagram, I usually post in the summer because it's way better. You got a beautiful lakefront view, and we're on a pointed lot. We have a little beach where we can launch kayaks, and we have a dock and a little small little cliff over here. And this is one of the best homes you can buy in our area. It's just beautiful, right? And it's a ranch, and it's about almost an acre of property. And this is everybody's dream home. This is what I thought my dream home was, because it was on the lake. It's back in Wisconsin, and that's kind of a sign of status, I guess you could say, in Wisconsin, is when you live in the lake, when you live on the lakefront property. And everyone says, well, why are you selling it? Well, the short answer to why I'm selling it is I bought it low and I'm selling it high. So one of the things I like to say is don't ever get connected to inanimate objects. That's something that happens so many times when people come up in materialistic things, is they get connected to their car, they get connected to their house, or they get connected to inanimate objects. And I'm sitting there saying, this is a house. And Marissa said it the best. She found this quote online. It says, don't let the lake quench your thirst for the ocean. And it's like, that's what I knew I wanted. The goal was always to make my way back to the ocean, have a beautiful oceanfront home. Good morning, guys. We're doing a Q&A. So the first reason why I'm selling my house is because it's a great market. We bought this house very low. We're selling it very high. We had multiple six figures in equity in the home. Therefore, this is the time. Sell the house high. Let's go do the next thing. So that's one of the reasons. And it was just a lot of work, dude. Like, I'm a millennial. You guys know I take my time extremely seriously. So when I have to hire a staff of people and pay them $600 to clean up the yard, that adds up. And it's like, yeah, you could spend money on that, or you could look at where else could your money and your time be going that would be more beneficial. Good morning, Jason. How we doing, man? Morning. So that's one of the reasons we're selling the house. I encourage you guys to look at some of those things. So you'll hear all sorts of strategies on what they think of buying a house looks like when you're right out of college or you're starting out. So many people say, don't buy the house, just rent, save the money, put it in the market, whatever. It's like, here, what is your strategy, right? Just get your strategy clear. Because if you can buy something very low and sell it very high, I don't really care what your strategy is. That's a good deal. You can do that, and that works very well. So it's like, think about what your goal is. If your goal is, I just want to have a nice home to live with my family and my 2 kids, have my 2.5 kids, a golden retriever and a white picket fence, that's your strategy. And that's fine. You can do that too. But if you're trying to build wealth, there's multiple ways you can do it. Renting isn't necessarily one. Understand, is your market a renting market or is your market a buying market? Understand that, because you can very well tell the difference. If your rents are through the roof and it's super cheap to buy, why would you be tossing your money away in high rents? So anyway, right now, this is a seller's market. We are freaking selling for sale. Jason will tell you, he runs Northeast Wisconsin. He's the HGTV of that place. So go follow Jason too. You need to sellfast.com if you want to learn how to freaking wholesale properties and you want to learn how to flip houses. But he'll tell you the same thing. The market is crazy high right now. One of the reasons I'm selling my home. The second reason is I think I bought this house out of ego. And I'm going to tell you that from a place of vulnerability, right? I wanted to have the big house on the lake, to be that piece of status, to have that incredible feeling when people come in, they look and they're like, wow, you run this place, you're 24 years old and you have this freaking awesome house. It's $500,000, which is a big deal in Wisconsin. I know some of you guys out there in New Jersey and New York, like $500,000 buys you a freaking studio apartment, you know? But in Wisconsin, it's a big deal. And I thought this was going to be something that I could help, I guess, soften the blow to my wife, who is from New Jersey and didn't want to come to Wisconsin in the first place. I said, well, look at this. This is lake living. You know, you got the boat that comes up to the drive or to the dock, and sand bottom. You can jump in, splash. It's wonderful in the summer. And in the wintertime, you can go ice skating and snowmobiling and driving out there. Yes, people drive on the ice in Wisconsin. Anybody that's south of Illinois in this entire country, south of the Mason-Dixon line, our ice gets so thick you can drive on it. Yes, that is a truth story. But this was something I think I did out of ego. I did it for the wrong reasons. I wanted to buy it because this was a status symbol. It was something to make myself feel better about my decision to come here. So the next question I always get was, well, where are you going to go? And that's the question I don't know. So how many of you guys would sell your home and not have any idea where you're going? Probably not a lot. And the reason is because I think so many of us want control, and we want to have that absolute defined control over where our life's going to go. And one of the things I vowed to myself this year is, like you guys know, discipline one step at a time, and to make all of my decisions out of true faith. So if I can go the rest of the months of this year making decisions out of faith, I want to see what happens. What's the hardest thing? Well, at least you got a roof over your head. Well, I don't now, right? So it's like, now what's the next choice for me? And I'm going to see where that journey takes me. So as of now, we close on February 14th, which I believe is Valentine's Day. Is that true? So we're closing on Valentine's Day. I just realized that. So on February 14th, we'll be closing on this home with nowhere to go. So that is what a bigger action of faith, right? So we have a lot of cool opportunities. We go anywhere in the country. We go just somewhere locally. We could stay with my parents for all I know. I don't really care, but we have nowhere to go after this. And if you guys haven't thought about acting out of faith and trying to challenge yourself and scare yourself into points of uncertainty, that's where I'm going here. So I'm trying to take a totally different approach, because for the longest time, I would make my decisions when I had a very defined plan. I knew exactly what I was going to be doing, and I had goals and I had action steps, boom, 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 boom. And now I'm trying to take a step back, and I'm looking internally, and I'm looking towards God. And I say, look, you can help me. I will listen. Just let me listen to you, and I can go forward. And that's what I've been doing. And it has opened up more doors in the first 2 months of this year than you can ever imagine. So many doors, I need to shut them. And that's where my focus is coming in. So now I'm like, wow, I've been getting so many incredible, unique opportunities. Now it's like, which one is aligned? And that's the first thing. Old AJ would have said, I'm going to do that one. I'm going to do that one. I'm going to do that, that, and that, and that. I don't say no to shit. New AJ says, look, what is your purpose here? What is your direction? And just get rid of the noise. Get rid of all that noise. And then you can keep going from there. So I think my Instagram just took a crap here, but I'm going to keep rocking on Facebook, guys. And it's incredible, I think, how freeing and liberating that is. Let me get these Instagram guys back on, because those poor guys, I mean, there's a whole bunch of people I just left hanging. That's not cool. What's going on? If you guys are back on it, just jumped off for a second because Wi-Fi problems, right? First, that is a first world problem. Wi-Fi problems. My sister was texting me. She's like, since when do you wear glasses? I said, they're not. They're blue light. They're blue light shields to help you with your vision or whatever. And she's like, that's really #extra. And I said, that's a great example of a first world problem, right? I need to keep the blue light from blocking from all my electronic devices. So I thought that was funny. So yeah, that's why I'm selling my house, guys. I'm selling it because it's number one, the market's high. Number two, I needed to respond to my ego trying to control what my decisions were going to be. And number three, I need to have more faith in what my next decisions were. I think if I can release this, it's going to release a piece of my ego, so I can see what the next step is going to be for me. And Marissa was totally on board. Obviously, you guys know her as my intuitive roadmap in my life. And I try to use her to the best of her abilities, which is sensing and feeling, where my best abilities is complex strategy and being able to communicate well. So those are some of the reasons we're selling our house. So if you guys have any questions, welcome on board. If you are just hopping on, I see Dawn Ann coming on again. Dawn Ann was an awesome client we used to have for our sweat equity program. And she's just an incredible woman. So I hope she's doing well over there, Dawn Ann, right? Awesome. So anyway, those are a couple things I wanted to share with you today. Some interesting stuff I was reading this morning. If you guys have not gotten a chance to And I know some of you, I don't try to like preach on here per se, but I got this John C. Maxwell Leadership Bible, which is a pretty incredible book. It goes through Bible verses and it highlights leadership characteristics of some of the teachings of the Gospels and some of the teachings of Scripture, which is pretty cool. So if you have, it's just funny because I think John C. Maxwell, he said, he's like, yeah, when I started speaking to some of the secular audience, they were all asking me, they said, well, where's your leadership values come from? Like, where does a lot of your stuff, your content, where are you getting that? Or did you have a ton of experience or whatever? And he says, no, it's all just right here in the Bible. And they said, okay, well, where's that? He's like, well, give me an example of great leadership. I'll give you an example where it's at in the Bible. And he said, nobody can come up with a good example of leadership that isn't found somewhere in the Scripture. So I thought that was fascinating. And I've been doing a lot of reading out of there lately as I'm trying to help other people become great leaders in their lives. Because so many people, like I was talking this morning and I was doing some reading on vision, and where do you come up with your vision? Good morning, guys. And that's so hard for people sometimes because I think people come on two sides of this, right? You always hear me talk about the masculine, the feminine. You always hear me talk about the order and the chaos. And it's like, so where do you come up with your vision, right? Where does that come from? Because the vision in a way is it's more of a feminine leaning thing, is to have a distant way of forecasting the future and seeing something, and then the grounding it into reality is more masculine. So I work with a lot of very masculine men. They're very detail oriented. They're very order driven. They follow rules. They can get results. It's all about competition and alpha male. Like I speak with so many men that are like that. And then I speak with so many women that are like they're in their head sometimes, and they have so many visions and dreams and stuff, but they can't get themselves into action. And then I see there's so many women that are super masculine that say like, look, I am like, I don't know, there's this one woman, for example, she's just so disciplined and order and so many rules and organizations and everything. And then she can't step into her own power to forecast her vision into the world. And it's like, Marissa and I, she's a friend of ours, and Marissa and I are always just like, oh my gosh, if she could only just connect into her vision, she would be so powerful. She'd be so powerful. And those are the things that I think are very difficult for people to understand or to find. Like, what's your vision? And then the opposite problem is like, well, I know what my vision is. It's just so huge and crazy. I just can't bring it into actionable steps. So I'm going to give you two pieces of advice for how you can do this. And it's very simple. The first one is release. And the second one is take steps. So here's what I mean by this. If you don't know what your vision is, release from wanting to understand your vision. And that's what I mean. It's surrendering into the experience. So if you can worry about one thing, and that's just take the next step. Just take the next step. One of my friends, he graduated from Ranger School, and he said it was the hardest thing he ever had to do because he was in there for 120 days. So Ranger School is a course in the Army. It's one of the hardest courses you can be in, arguably the hardest. And you don't get a lot of food, and you don't get a lot of sleep. And it's supposed to be, in the fastest you can get through it is 66 days or so. And it's infantry training. So it's very challenging. You do rucks throughout the mountains, in the swamps of Florida. It's rigorous. I've never gone. Many of my friends have gone. And I said to them, I said, well, when you go into Ranger School, it's 66 days or so. Most people, 50% or more, I believe, will recycle and do it all over again. And it takes, so like one of my friends took him 120 days to get through it. I mean, that's a long time without really sleeping or eating. And he says their brain would get so messed up from not sleeping enough that they won't be able to do math for the longest time or remember things or facts. It's incredible, right? So I said, oh, how did you get through it? Like, what did you do to get through that? And they said, you just put one foot in front of the other. You just put one foot in front of the other. And it's like, how do you boil an ocean? One cup at a time. You just chip away at it. You chip away at it. And that does so many things. Number one, it doesn't give you anxiety over that distant vision, that giant dream, that big thing that you're trying to chew. It gives you so much release from that. because all you got to worry about is just one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. And you say, well, how do I know if I'm even moving towards my dream? And that's where you got to have the faith. You got to connect back into it. And a lot of times when you get good at this, you can roll this all up into it and be like, I see how this is connected. I see how what I'm doing is giving me skills, knowledge, and attributes. It's going to contribute towards the greater vision. I see how that works. And that's the two things. So take one step at a time. Take one step at a time. Good morning, everybody. Still waving people. So once again, if you guys have any questions, shoot me a note, give me a Q&A. This is what this is for. If you want to know anything about me, you want to know something about Marissa, I'll tell you everything I know. So that's really what these are for. And this is to answer questions that you guys have been emailing me. So the first question I answered is, why am I selling my house? And so big news, I'm selling my house. Second one is, where are you going? So I'm selling my house because it's a good market and I need to respond to my ego. And number two is, where am I moving? I don't know, because I got to have faith. I'm taking one step at a time. So those are some good notes that I had from this morning. What other questions you guys got? Seriously, shoot away, fire away. I'm drinking celery here. I got time. I got time this morning. We're going to freaking go work out at 10 o'clock. I got time today. Usually Dawn Ann, it's one of the ones with questions, right? Jumping in, balance is key, right? Well, anyway, guys, I think that setting a vision is important, but don't get so caught up in how far away you are from the vision. Get more caught up in what can you do today to just keep chipping away at it. I guess that's the big note, right? All right, so we got a question here. This is awesome. How would you help a person from a poor background? Okay, so judging by just this story or just this note here, the first thing is you come from a poor background, and that's the story that you have right now. So when you can start to change your story into something that's empowering, we can start to change your story into something that's empowering. So many people get caught up in the story that I come from a poor background, or some people get caught up in the story that I come from a wealthy background. It doesn't matter what your story is. If your story is something that's going to limit you, you're going to believe it. So that's what I mean by the story. The story is, what are you telling yourself? What are the reasons that you can't do something? What are the excuses you keep saying? And you might say it's because I'm from a poor background. It might be because I'm from a wealthy background. One of my big stories was, how do I connect to people with vulnerable moments if I come from more of a privileged background? So I won't be able to connect with people at any points of vulnerability. And what I found out was, sure as shit, there's tons of vulnerable moments that really connect with people and really resonate, all sorts of them. And what you got to do is you got to be understanding that vulnerability is much different than being a victim, right? Vulnerability is much different than being a victim. A victim has no resolution. A victim is someone that wants pity. A victim is somebody that maybe even deserves it, maybe deserves to have empathy from others and pity. But the fact is that if you find yourself as a victim, the only way that you're going to get out of this is to find a resolution. So vulnerability must be met with credibility. And where's your credibility come from? It comes from taking action, the one step every single day towards something bigger, better than you, towards something of bigger values, towards something of a bigger mission, a bigger vision. So it's like, it doesn't matter what your story is, because every day that you wake up and your two eyes open and you look at the world, you have a new start, you have a new opportunity to start something. It doesn't matter what your reputation is. It doesn't matter what everything that happened to you in the past. I mean, you can use some of it for your advantage. If you've done incredible things, use it as credentials. If you've done things you're not proud of, use it as stories and learning lessons that you can build off of, and why you've changed and what you've learned and how you've repented for what you've done that was bad and how it's going to change you going forward into the future. Those are the things you want to start to pull apart, and you want to start to build your story to support you, to drive you forward. I mean, it's just like your life is a freaking movie. Everybody's got to think about it that way. Your life's a movie. How do you want it to end? And it's like, you can literally pull in the characters that you want in your movie. You can start to change the story that you want in your movie, right? It's like everyone says, well, if I'm a movie, if my life's a movie, what do I got to do? It's like, well, you can rewrite your dialogue every time you speak, so you know what your lines are going to be. You can pull in different characters that you want. Say, look, I want the mentor to come in now, right? I want the mentor to come in, and when the student is ready, the teacher will find you, right? It's like, I want that person. Go pull in a mentor right now. Go find that person to train you. I'm ready. I'm ready to go take on the world. I'm ready to find my superpower, my gift. It's like, these are all parts of your story, wherever you are, whoever's listening to this. And it's like, you can change that at any time. So if your story is going to be, I'm just the poor kid, I'm always been poor, and I'm always going to be poor, then you're always going to be poor and you're going to die poor and you're going to die with little contribution, no value, and no meaning in your life. That is a tragedy. Do you want your story to be a tragedy, or do you want your story to be a comedy? And the difference between tragedy and comedy, tragedies have they have a resolution that was not resolved, and comedies have a resolution, a positive resolution. Do you want your story to be a tragedy or a comedy? And it's like you can pull in the characters at any time, whenever you want, wherever you want. Today, you could pull it in and say, I'm ready for the mentor to come up in my life. I'm ready for them to be here. And you could go find them. Find out who you want to be like. Find out who could find your superpower, bring it out, train you on it, and have that become. So whatever your story is or was can change. And if you want your story to stay the same and keep telling yourself the same story over and over again, it won't change. And your story is going to keep being the way it is. But understand that your life is a dynamic, moving story. That's how I would respond to someone that comes from a poor background that usually falls into that story. I had a friend when I was on vacation. Of course, me being Mr. Privileged or whatever, I was on vacation. This was last year or so. And I shouldn't say it was privileged. I was well out of the family, and I was working, and I was making a ton of money. We went to St. Lucia, and I was there, and we met a friend who I still talk to this day. And he was St. Lucia is a third world country. It's very poor. There's not a lot of people that can afford to do much at all. Their houses are falling apart. The cars are falling apart. I mean, it looks like he went back in time. It's a very poor country. And one of our friends there, he was one of the entertainers. And we just got to talk to him. I just love learning about people and their stories and stuff. And I told him before I left, I said, look, I will mentor you if you want, and I'll help you try to get all the hopes and dreams that you want out of your life. And at first he's like, really? Like, I don't know if this guy's for real. And then eventually he said, I'm ready for this. So I gave him access to my Voxer, which is where I get shared out with my clients. And we talk all the time. And every once in a while, I'll send him a Facebook note. And for the longest time, his story was, look, I'm just the poor kid from St. Lucia. I'm just the poor kid from St. Lucia. Donald Trump was president, won't let anybody in the country. All these different things that kept coming up. And I said, look, dude, that is your story. Remove that story from your life. What story can you do? Can you make money right now? And he's like, well, of course I can make money. Can you make more money right now? Yeah. Can you make more money without moving to America? Yeah. Okay. That's your new story then. How do you do that? Because that changes exactly what he was doing. Because if he was going to sit there and dwell, where your focus goes is where everything that happens. Where focus goes, energy flows, right? So if you're focusing on your previous story, and you're saying something like, I'm just the poor boy from St. Lucia. I can't come into America because Donald Trump is president. I can't do any of this. You're giving all of your energy away to external sources, things that you cannot control, and you're never going to end up having any power back. So take the power back. Own your own story. If your story is limiting you, change your story now. If your story is like, look, I'm the rags to riches champ that came from St. Lucia, that turned his community around, that became a wealthy individual, boom, that's a whole new story. So that answers the question. How would I respond to someone that comes from a poor background? It's saying, use your story, use your moments of vulnerability, use all those different things. Those are tools for you. Those are tools that you can help share with the world, right? That's really what it's all about. So I think we got time for like one more question. If anybody wants to throw one up there, we got time. So. Isn't silence great? Just having that moment of silence, people on social media, they're so quick to move, jump around, click on something new. What's this guy up to? What's that guy up to? Sometimes silence is just incredible. Take some silence into your life, right? Just moments of silence. It's nice. We got any more questions, guys? Seriously, that's it. So I had a couple more on my email list, but I think I just started ranting for a while. So if you guys have anything you'd like to say, Marissa's on and she's not here with me. She's in the other room. Can you believe that? Yeah, guys. So we've been well. We're selling our home. We're doing that for a very good reason. And I just wanted to share that with you all because you're going to be starting to see a change of scenery coming up here. So I appreciate you guys once again. If you have any questions, like I said, they pop up. You don't want to talk on this. Send me a DM on Instagram. Send me a message on Facebook. You can send me, if you're listening to this on the podcast here, you can always go to info@aaronjarmstrong.com. You can send me a note, a question. I'll always respond. I want to make sure I get back to you guys. If you want that video I was talking about, how to start a podcast, once I said, just email me, info@aaronjarmstrong.com. I'll send you the link. It's about 30 minutes, and I'm in a bathrobe with my chest flow hanging out, chest hair. That's what the ladies like these days, right, Mar? No. Anyway, what I do is I work with leaders. That's really my market. And they might be emerging leaders, they might be people that don't know they're leaders yet, or they might be actual leaders that are established. So one of my clients is executive at 3M, and I work with him. And I'm telling you guys, these are things that you got to learn in order to make a difference in the world. I think everybody's a leader, and like John C. Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership. If you want to start a business and you're blazing a trail somewhere, by the definition, you are leading something new. If you want to start to get the right people in your corner, you want to start to get the right customers and have the right influence, it does benefit to have someone in your corner helping you look at yourself from a brand new set of eyes. Because we can look internally all we want, but having that optimal level of EQ is understanding how you are being viewed as well. So that's what I like to do. I work with leaders. Once again, you can always send me email, info@aaronjarmstrong.com. You can sign up for a free call. We can talk about your strategy, your story, what things are coming up in your life. My program is very specific. Typically, we start off with leading yourself first, understanding the internal work. Then we move into how do you lead others and influence. And phase three is how do we turn that into business results and business action. That's typically the progression that we go through. And it's always different for people depending on their levels of awareness. We might spend an entire year right here in learning about yourself because so many people ignore it. So many people don't even think about it. And that's the first thing you got to do. And that's why a good mentor of mine, Mike Irwin, he wrote the book, Lead Yourself First, because that's one of the things you got to go inside before you can go outside, because everything externally is a reflection of your inside world. And that comes to be with your spirituality. That comes to be with your personality. That comes to be with your religion, your theology. All those things come together and make you who you are. That's why I always say this year, it's not about what you do, but it's about who you become. So let's start there. And like I said, one step at a time. So awesome Q&A today, guys. Thank you for those of you that ask questions. If you ever have any questions, I build these up over the course of time, and then I go and I respond to them sometimes on the platforms like this. So once again, my name is Aaron Armstrong. You can find me at aaronjarmstrong.com. On my Instagram is aaronarmstrong33. I'm on Facebook Live almost every Saturday morning, usually between 8 and 9 o'clock. Sometimes my lovely wife, Marissa, is my co-host, who a lot of you guys love her little sense of humor, and she's a little bit more softer and better to look at on camera than I am, that's for sure. But that's what I like to do. So if you have any questions, let me know. Reach out. Once again, Aaron Armstrong, aaronjarmstrong.com. And my show is called Winners, Wallets, and Worldviews. Have a fantastic Saturday. And if you guys are just jumping on, go back and listen to this. This was really good today. Thanks, guys.